Welcome back to the meeting of the Orange County Board of Supervisors for October the 11th. We will now come back from our closed session back into the board meeting, and we'll start with our public comments.
First speaker is Elia.
Good afternoon. I believe you all remember me. Well, I had surgery, so I haven't been to your meetings, and now I'm here, and I would like to hand this booklet to you. It reads, Nowhere to Live, the Homeless Crisis in Orange County and How to End It. Well, I'm not an expert on how to end it, but I did come to speak. Can you all please read it and take the time to understand that I know that you guys, some of you don't like us, some of you give us a break. But I am homeless, and I've been trying to get indoors. I don't like being outdoors like people say that. We like being out here. We don't. We don't like being in the rain. We don't like being in the cold, and I definitely don't like that. My friends are dying out here. I have 2 pets who are my companions. I have a friend that helps take care of me. Ever since I had the surgery, I can't do a lot of stuff for myself. People can sometimes see me, but I'm playing in the dirt. I'm not 5150. I found out if I play in the dirt with my hand and stuff, I don't have to be thinking about all the people that have died out here because they're not indoors. Yes, I'm not going to deny there's alcohol, drugs, and everything, but they are homeless like I am homeless. I came here about 10 years ago. I've been here that long. I have applied for housing, but every time I went to apply for housing, there was no housing available. Now there was. Last year, people went in, I didn't get to go in. Even though I am now handicapped, I have more things that are wrong with me. As you get older, people get older. You get problems. But you all have homes. And a lot of times you don't realize that we are, some of us here that are good people. We're not all bad. We're not all 5150. And we all deserve a break. You have mothers, sisters, and kids. Who knows, maybe some of them are going to end up here, even maybe you. But remember this, you have a home. I want a home too, but I don't want to go to a motel where I'm going to end up going, stay there for a year when I can have an apartment or something else. I can't afford it. You guys have money. You've been given money for years by the federal government. And I know that the city took advantage of you guys, and I don't blame you for being mad at them. But please, not only help me, help the people that are out there. I have a friend that's depression really got her bad, and she almost died. I don't want her to die. I don't want nobody else to die here. So can you please not only help me get into housing, but help her too?
Okay, thank you
And
for
other
speaking.
people. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker, please.
Joanne Mershon.
Hi. You'll have to, I know that maybe you don't like having me bring my dog. A reason that I have a helper dog is I'm an alumnus of state of California, County of Los Angeles foster care, and I do have post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm not homeless. I was homeless around 7 years ago. And the reason I was homeless was because I was underemployed. I left a toxic relationship, and I could not find enough work to make it on my own. I was given vocational rehab by the state of California because of my post-traumatic stress or whatever. So I got my paralegal, and I was lucky enough to land a job making a living wage, and I now have a roof over my head, but I don't have any money extra to save. So I will be, in spite of the help I received from California, which I'm grateful for, I'm going to have to move out of state so that I can save. I'm not getting any younger. The reason I'm here today is because where I live in a high-rent apartment because it was easy to get into, and there are a lot of homeless people around where I live, and I notice that a lot of these people are mentally ill. When I go to the Civic Center with my church and we pass out personal hygiene items, I see that these are not like evil people or people that are less than human. They're people that look just like my next door neighbors at the Windsor at Main Place, only they're homeless, right? A lot of them. They're just regular people. And I'm just a regular person too. If I lose my job, before I manage to move, I could wind up on the street, and that won't make me less than a human being. What would make me less than a human being is if I don't do everything I can, if I don't come here and speak out, if I don't reach into my pocket and give $5 when somebody asks me for it on the street, if I don't participate with my church, and if I don't come here to the what I see as the halls of power and beg you to please do something to provide housing for people, because we have no safety net in this country. We don't really have a safety net for our orphans either, and it defines us as a society, not how much money we have or how wealthy we can become, but how we treat our people who are helpless, who are unable to do anything, how we treat our children. The people that are staying out there are not dehumanized. I would not be dehumanized if I had to be homeless again.
Okay, thank you for speaking.
I have one more thing to say.
Okay, if you could wrap it up.
I would be dehumanized if I don't do anything to help when I have a little extra or I have the power to do it. So nobody out there is dehumanized. Those of us who can do something about it are dehumanizing ourselves.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Linda Linkering.
Good afternoon, members of the board. I'm Linda Linkering, and I'm here today representing the Anaheim Poverty Task Force. In 2008, faith organizations and other service providers got together in Anaheim to see what more we could do. We were already serving people experiencing homelessness, and yet nothing was changing. So we decided to help change the system. In 2010, we wrote a 5-year plan to end homelessness for Anaheim based on the county's own 10-year plan. One of our 15 recommendations included establishing a permanent year-round shelter and multi-service center. So we congratulate the Board of Supervisors for approving the shelter and multi-service center in Anaheim and for opening the courtyard in Santa Ana. It's a good beginning to implementing this part of the 10-year plan. However, only one piece of this plan will not provide a pathway out of homelessness unless the county creates more permanent, supportive, and affordable housing so that people can be linked within 30 days to their own home. Without the necessary funding commitment by the Orange County Board of Supervisors for these needed permanent, supportive, and affordable housing units, the shelters will just become holding places for people experiencing homelessness. So I want you guys to consider these facts. Only 2% of the people in an existing shelter system currently exit to permanent subsidized housing. 2%. While around a fifth cycle to other emergency and temporary shelter, and 70% go back to the streets or another location. So you can see it's imperative for the Board of Supervisors to immediately fund its own approved 10-year plan, including funding for permanent supportive housing and affordable housing. Housing first works. It's time to make it happen in Orange County. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Eve Garrow.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name's Eve Garrow. I'm from the ACLU of Southern California, and I'm very pleased to be able to submit the report with Anaheim and the rest of our coalition partners. Nowhere to Live: The Homelessness Crisis in Orange County and How to End It. The report analyzes the county's own 10-year plan to end homelessness, showing why it is not currently ending homelessness, and it provides a set of recommendations. Some of our coalition members are going to be talking about the recommendations, and so I'll let them speak on that. I'll just say that we recognize that the board approved a 10-year plan to end homelessness in 2010, and that the plan is very well conceived. It calls for providing people experiencing homelessness with their own safe, affordable, permanent apartment as an immediate response to their crisis. And this is particularly important in such an expensive rental market as we have here in Orange County. It's the nationally recognized best practices, and I don't think you'll find a homelessness expert in this country who won't say it's the best way to actually end homelessness. But almost 7 years after the board approved the plan, wait lists for affordable housing are still closed for years. So a lot of our folks out here can't even get on a list. And once they're on the list, they can expect to wait at least 4 to 8 years to get to the top. Permanent supportive housing for people like Anaheim, who are chronically homeless with disabling conditions, is also in short supply. And so people like her also wait for years. And as others have mentioned, the missing component is really funding. Federal and state funding sources are stagnant, they grow very slowly, or they're actually shrinking. And what we do have goes almost exclusively to fund the affordable housing units and the permanent supportive housing units that are already occupied. So those units need an infusion of funding each year, and that's where most of our funding goes. So the county will really have to fill that gap if we're going to solve this problem. To end homelessness, we need to assess the need, determine the number of units that will be required to meet this need, and then to go about developing the funding sources necessary to create them. And you'll see that in the report, we've done this analysis. We truly hope that this report will provide a useful tool in a shared commitment throughout this county among cities, the county, other stakeholders such as the ACLU, and other community groups who are committed to ending homelessness in this county. This report, this is the purpose of this report, and we look forward to working with the county, our 34 cities, advocacy groups, and other stakeholders to end homelessness in Orange County. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Madeline Spencer. Brooke Weitzman.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. As Supervisor Doe said earlier, we need to address the root causes of homelessness. Just providing the shelters is a great step in the right direction, but it's not enough. And what this report does is get into the root causes and what we as a county can do and what you as our elected officials can do to address those causes. We've heard a little bit about the need for affordable housing and the need for the county to invest in it. And so what I want to specifically ask you to do is to take the lead on decriminalizing homelessness. While people are awaiting access to affordable housing, they are still being criminalized for unavoidable behaviors. Right now, the county and 33 of the 34 cities here have criminalization laws on the books, things that make it illegal to be outside with camping paraphernalia, to sleep outside, to sleep in your car overnight, to sometimes cook or eat in parks or public places, to have more than a few cubic feet of belongings, or to be more than a few feet away from your belongings, even if it's just to go use the restroom. And when people receive tickets for these behaviors, they often are unable to make the court dates or they don't have access to the information. These tickets go to warrant. So people who are living outside end up in a cycle where they get a warrant sent out for their arrest. They go spend a few days in jail. They end up with fines that they're never going to be able to pay. The 2015 report from the Orange County Collaborative Courts stated that our homeless court here in Orange County is a compassionate response to the fact that the homeless participants may receive infractions simply because they're homeless, with the ironic result that such charges may hinder their efforts to obtain disability assistance. So we already know here in the county that these tickets are often being received simply because people are homeless. And I'm asking you, the county, to be the leader, to show the cities that the right thing to do is to repeal these statutes and ordinances that criminalize homelessness, and to incentivize cities to follow you by using that when you're considering how you distribute funding. Using the criminal justice system to make homeless people disappear is ineffective, it's expensive, it's inhumane. In some cases, it's unconstitutional. People who are getting these tickets are unlikely to be able to get employment or to get housing once they receive them, as they get stuck in the criminal justice system. So again, I'm just asking that the county take the lead in following the federal government and in the movement to condemn the criminalization, to show the counties that, and the cities in Orange County, that here senior citizens, families, children, and all people who are homeless are not criminal just by virtue of being homeless, and that we are working towards solutions and not making more barriers.
Great. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Cynthia Sanchez.
Chairwoman, Board. My name is Cynthia Sanchez, and I'm a community organizer with the OC Congregation Community Organization, OCO for short. I am the daughter of a single mom who worked tirelessly my whole life to provide for me. And in spite of that, we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with 2 other families, 1 family in each bedroom, and my mom and I in the living room floor. In spite of this upbringing, which was difficult, I cannot imagine what it's like for men, women, and children to live on a daily basis exposed to the elements under incredible amounts of stress and vulnerability. But what I can imagine is having a government that serves its people, all of its people. And so today I'm here with the Poverty Task Force and the ACLU to present this report around best practices. And there's one specific one that I'd like to highlight, and that's the value of creating a housing trust fund. This housing trust fund, if implemented, would support the strategy articulated on your 10-year plan to end homelessness. We know that without a regional force of funding, such as a housing trust fund, the county will never end homelessness due to the inadequacy of state and federal resources. The county's discretionary or general purpose revenues are over $744 million and have increased by a total of approximately $61 million in the last 2 budget cycles. This in contrast with their estimates that it will take about $55 million a year to house our homeless population in this county. We believe that this is possible. And therefore, we call this board to pass some sort of housing initiative, and more specifically, a housing trust fund, so that every person experiencing homelessness can have a life filled with dignity. We have seen this board pass $27 million to build a state-of-the-art animal shelter. So we believe that this is more than within our capacity to do. We recommend a combination of discretionary revenues, which have not been prioritized for affordable and permanent supportive housing in the past, and mechanisms such as a housing trust fund, which will provide a stable, dedicated source of funding specifically for ending homelessness. Our government is supposed to serve our people, and let's hope that homelessness can end soon because of your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Lou Noble.
Thank you. I started advocating for the homeless about almost over 2 years ago in Anaheim at city councils. I know that this implementation of a 10-year plan has started since 2010. What I've seen is instead of creating shelters or somewhere for our homeless community to go to, they've been implementing laws, unconstitutional laws that are infringing on their Fourth Amendment right, which are, camping and storage, which actually criminalizes the homeless. The situation here that we have, this is great that finally we got that terminal open and one shelter in Anaheim, but that's going to be just a bandage on the big wound that has been open for all these years. That homelessness has increased. If not 50%, it has increased more. So we have an emergency right now, especially with the weather coming, people in the riverbed. I have been told that they have been harassed by OC Works or people that are saying they're part of OC Works, that they're going to be, enforcing the laws of camping. A lot of people, they have been pushed to the riverbed, and now we have actually acknowledged that the water flow has been open without any notice to anybody downstairs. I think I suggest that OC Works would put, or at least put some posting signs when they're going to be getting the flood water out, or an emergency. For this point, I've been trying to say a simple solution for people who are waiting for housing or the shelters, that we open safe zones. And safe zones, they're already by the riverbed. There's places that are city-owned, county-owned, that could be open with porta potties and showers and some kind of security within that, just for the people that are waiting, because this homelessness of people being pushed from one place to another is going to continue, and it's not going to be a solution with this shelter, as far as it's just going to be a dent on the problem. So maybe we could, Mr. Spitzer, you have before said that we need shelters in every city, and that should be done, because the one in Anaheim it's not gonna be enough for a lot of the cities around, like Fullerton and stuff like that, because Anaheim alone has over 500 people. So a shelter of 200 people is not going to be enough. So
Right. Thank you for speaking. Next speaker, please.
Alexander Klamer. The last speaker, Myroneben.
Chairman Bartlett, members of the board, this is not going to cost you any money. My name is Myroneben. I live in Irvine. For the past 10 years, I've been a page at the Orange County Library System, working for $10 an hour, about 10 hours a week, putting books back on the shelves, doing other chores at the Heritage Park Library. As of December 31st this year, I and 135 other pages will be fired through no fault of our own, but rather because apparently the Orange County Employees Union believes we are no longer of any use. Normally, this would be a personnel issue that the Board of Supervisors might not get involved in, but with 136 people, I believe it's more of a policy issue, and I have trouble believing that the board would sit back and condone this action. During your closed session, you presumably talked to the labor negotiator for the Orange County Employees Union, among others. I am one of those labor. I was hired by the library system, not by the union. I fail to understand how a union has acquired the power to fire 136 people. The union claims they identified extra help abuses. Those were not identified in our library, and I would be interested in knowing what other extra help employees besides pages are being targeted. You are sitting up there because people like me, taxpayers in this county, voted you into office expecting you to look after our interests. Yet you apparently are allowing action to be taken that will weaken what is an outstanding public library system, a system that serves all members of the public. Pages range from high school students to retirees. We receive no benefits because, truthfully, we don't really need any union benefits. Presumably, joining the union would reduce that $10 minimum wage to less than $10 due to union dues. We have heard that extra help employees will have the option to reapply for our positions. What is the cost to the county for the recruitment and training process involved? And is this a prudent way to spend our tax money? The union appears to want to take a system that has worked well for many years and, due to its own interest, change it. Your priority, in my opinion, should be looking out for the welfare of the citizens of this county, not pandering to a feckless union that appears to be looking out for its own welfare to the detriment of the public. While I don't pretend to represent all 135 pages, I would ask on their behalf that you see if you can reverse this decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No additional speakers?
No, we don't.
Okay.